Hello, everyone, and welcome back to some more Rome 2 land battle action. We got I was about to say 1v1. A 2v2 for you here. This one's been sent in to us by Lendius Hill. And as always, let us go over the players on the field of battle, quickly go over army comps, and then we'll get right into it. So, over here on this side of the battlefield, we have playing as Getae, Messias G. Lendius Hill here is playing as Lusitane. Then over here we have ODM playing as, or actually that's the clan name, I'm sorry. Fine Tips playing as Pergamon, and then BK 0717 playing as Egypt. Now, let's see what Egypt has brought. Looks like, what do we got here? 3 units of Tarantine Cav. Any on the flank? Nope, I don't see any. We also have some Camel Spears. 2 units of those. 3? Yes, we have 3. General is Ptolemaic Cavalry. Front line, where we have 2 Egyptian Slingers, backed up by 2 Egyptian Pikemen. Then we have 1 Nubian Spearman, 2 Levi Thurio Spears. That's right, I forgot that they get Levi Thurio Spears as well. Pretty cost effective, actually. Another Egyptian, or no, I'm sorry. It's the same Egyptian pikeman. 2 more Levi Thurio Spears. And then we have 1, 2, 3 Galatian Royal Guard. Very, very scary. Moving over to Pergamon here. What do we got back here? 2 Tarantine Cav. Then we have Pergamese Noble Cavalry. A unit of Peltists, Slingers, and Slingers. Another Pergamese Noble Cav, and then another Peltis on the flank. Front line, 3 units of Galatian Swords, and then we have 1, 2, 3 Agama Spears. Including the General. So that's 5. That's 4. I was about to say 5. Jeez, I can't do math. Ironically, math was my worst subject, and my mother was a high school math teacher. Loved doing math homework. Anyway, Lusitane's bringing 3 units of Scutari Cavalry. Lusitane Noble General, of course. Front line, we have 2 units of Lusitane Swordsmen. Pretty solid unit, actually. Not bad. 55 melee defense, 40 melee attack, 35 weapon damage. No bonus for infantry. Charge bonus is 10. Armor's 15, so definitely a good shock unit for sure. Just don't leave them in combat for too long. Or don't let them get shot at, either. I guess you could say that about pretty much all of Lusitane. Don't let them get shot at. Balearic Slingers across the board. Then we have Veteran Shield Warriors in the back. And then we have Lusitane Guerrillas. 4 units of these. These guys, as you can see, there's a cone right here for their javelins. Lusitane Guerrillas act a lot like... oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on the unit name that Carthage gets, and so does Lusitani and Aravaki. You know, they have crappy armor, but like really insane good melee defense. I can't believe I'm blanking on the name. Whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Lusitani Guerrillas act much like those. Anyway, last but not least, Getae is bringing, what do we got in the front lines here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 units of bow horse. We have some spears and spears. Then we have over here mercenary Thracian Peltis, not bad. Axe warriors, Dacian heavy skirmisher, axe warriors, heavy skirmisher, axe warrior. Then we have Falksmen, of course. Don't forget, Falksmen do get a nice little hidden bonus against Cav because they have these big old meat cleavers here. Probably pretty easy to basically just kind of lean over to the side as a person on a horse is charging you and just take out the horse's legs, quite literally. Anyway, noble swords, noble swords, noble swords, and then what do we have? Noble horseman general, spear horseman, and then another unit of spear horse. 22 minutes, 28 seconds, pretty long for the land battle, actually, but let's get this underway. So, this should prove to be pretty interesting, I think. Skirmish Cav and Skirmish Cav going to face each other off. Looks like Gete is actually just trying to cut off Egypt's attempt to flank. Got to respect that. Doing a pretty good job. Yep, juking back one. The other two over here definitely should swing while these two come over here to try and envelop Egypt's Tarantine Cav. Hopefully, I think the Tarantine Cav, though, have better melee stats than the bow Cav, but that's all right. Mercenary Thracian Peltas moving forward. Of course, they are not within range. Meanwhile, over here, Pergamon coming out fast and aggressive with his Tarantine Cav. Lusitani shifting. It looks like he shifted at least a little bit. His Qatari Cav over. Guerrilla Warriors moving. Going to rush forward to try and meet these Tarantine Cavs. Blarics are also getting turned around to fire on these guys. So with all these projectiles coming in against the Tarantine Cav, yeah, he's going to want to boogie on out of there as quickly as he possibly can. Guerrilla Warriors definitely not going to have the range, but the Slingers probably, at least they did have the range for a minute. So hopefully they got a couple of shots off and maybe weakened them while not necessarily killing anybody. Meanwhile, over here, looks like haven't lost any of the bow horse yet. But we are, looks like, going to just dive right on into it. Egypt is pressing aggressively, pushing the bow horsemen backwards. Can't really blame Gete for doing that because let's just take a look at the armor. 60 for them, and they only get 10. And then, hold on, I want to slow it down before we get into anything else. Let's see, melee defense for them. Melee attack is 9, weapon damage is 24. Melee defense is 13, as opposed to 36 melee defense for their Tarantine Cav. 24 weapon damage, charge bonus of 11, and the melee attack of 18. So yeah, the Tarantine Cav would definitely have that. I think, though, maybe if he can dupe the Tarantine Cav and coming falling back a little bit further, he might be able to get on in here. He's actually going for the charge, which honestly probably not the best of ideas because now, yeah, this Tarantine Cav is going to get bogged down. Hopefully the Noble Horse, Spear Horseman will be able to get over here, and yeah, there they go. Noble Swords moving around. Oh, they were starting to waver, but they managed to break loose and get free. Now would be the time to move the Bow Horse up, too, to harass somewhat, because these guys are definitely going to be in dire straits. But look at that. Nice, well played by Gete. Managing to get into at least one of the Tarantine Cabs. It's going to start to chip away at their numbers slowly but surely. Even this one, they lost a couple as well. And these guys, of course, are not doing too hot either. But now we have all 4 Bow Horse going after this one singular Tarantine Cav. That's going to manage to get them out of here as quickly as possible. Let's see what's going on over here. Looks like Lusitani is shifting a little bit. This is a little worrisome. Just, it's a huge, huge gap. But both Gete and Lusitani are shifting in kind. So while there is, I'm going to slow it down just for a second, and we're going to go into tactical view as well. So there is a giant gap here. Yes, that is completely and utterly true, but Gete has shifted his line and is continuing, as we just saw, to shift his line to meet the potential, I wouldn't say catastrophe, but problems that could arise with Pergamon potentially charging forward. Lusitani is also, of course, doing the same, shifting his line so that it's going to make it harder for Pergamon to wrap their way around on either side. So yeah, this would be the correct way to do it. It's still a little dicey, I feel, just because you're separating yourself from your ally, but Egypt has yet to move at all. He's fully focused on the fight with these Tarantine Cavs. He's not even bothering to move his infantry in any way, shape, or form. And now it even looks like the Pergamon is trying to split the difference here between the two fronts, which in the long run, I mean, Lusitani now has the absolute, I mean, he has shifted completely from his line that was here, boop, all the way around. And now, as I said, forcing Pergamon to split the difference. Pergamon cannot afford to shift his line in this type of a manner. He has to keep, come here, you. He's got to keep this curvature so that Gete cannot find an opening here and exploit it. Whereas, while there is a giant hole in the defensive line of Gete and Lusitani, as I said, they shifted their troops accordingly so that they can properly defend themselves in a pretty good manner. Meanwhile, Pergamon's Tarantine Cavs making their way forward to try and come over here and tussle what it seems like with with Gete, but unfortunately, it's just not going to pay out. I mean, he's going to come over here, which is well and good, but the Cavs going to either run these guys off, or Bocav's actually moving around. Looks like Egypt paid the price, lost 2, or no, did he? Yes, he did. He lost 2 out of 4, or I'm sorry, 1 out of 3 of his Tarantine Cav. I'm thinking of Gete as the 4 Bow Horsemen. So 1 down, 2 to go. They are now pushing forward as Gete reassembles his defensive line here. Bow Horsemen moving around to come and deal with these Tarantine Cav. Not that I think they'd be doing too much damage, although if they were smart, they would be focusing down the Falksmen. But now what's going to happen is, look, the Spear Horse have moved forward, right? As the Bow Horsemen come around, come here. Yes, there we go. Bow Horsemen moving around. Spear Horse should be moving around in this fashion, try and corral these Tarantine Cav to lock them down and keep them from moving any farther. Dacian heavy skirmishers are moving forward. Honestly, I think it would have been better if he had brought slingers with him, because then it would have given him the range. They would have had the AP damage. Yeah, it's not as much actual missile damage, but in the long run, I think that might have been a better choice. Meanwhile, Egypt is starting to shift his defensive line. He's actually starting to move away a little bit from Pergamon, sort of leaving them out in the open. Pergamon now, of course, once again, shifting his line. He's actually, I feel bad for Pergamon at the moment. Pergamon is being forced to follow Egypt around so that he does not have his flank in the middle exposed. Again, I mean, this is... Gete and Lusitani did this right. Whether they were able to communicate with themselves via the chat box, or they were in a Discord server together so they could speak with each other relatively easily, they split up in a smart way. I know I said, like, this is the 4th time that I'm saying this, but it really is. If you want to split away from your allies, that's all well and good. You absolutely should do that if you think it's going to give you a tactical advantage, but make sure you're covering your flanks. Make sure that you're bending that defensive line so it makes it harder for them to breach around the back. You got to make sure that you protect yourself. Even look at this. Dacia, I mean, they are Dacian, right? But Gete has brought over 2 of his Bow Horsemen over here to try, I guess, support his ally somewhat here. But so far, it's just been a lot of jockeying around and looking for a good position until you find the right moment to actually strike. Which... I mean, this is, to some, this might seem boring, but this is pretty interesting, okay? This is what a battle is, right? This is what we're dealing with here, is jockeying for position, finding a good spot, a good place to line up your troops to assault. It's not always just about, okay, the battle has started, let's move them forward and meet in the middle, and then we'll, start throwing snowballs at each other. It's, I need to move my army to have the tactical advantage so I can crush my enemy. And this is exactly what's going on right now. Meanwhile, Tarantine Cav getting tied up with the Bow Cav, but that was just a little bit of a distraction. Honestly, not, I feel, a great move by Egypt. They are now engaged with the Spear Horsemen, but we do have the Camel Spearmen moving on forward, and they, of course, being camels, are going to cause fear. And now, if we saw that correctly, yeah, the Spear Horsemen are losing pretty poorly. And now, of course, gonna get a little charge off here. Oh no, they were facing the wrong way too. That is completely unfortunate. So not only did they get rear charged, but they are also getting shot in the back by the slingers over here. Meanwhile, Lusitani is still moving around. Looks like he's now starting to slowly move forward. Hopefully he can get his Balearics within range, and he can start picking off some of these slingers, or even some of the Cav or spear horses, Agama spears here. And that definitely 100% would give his Cav a little bit of a benefit here. Meanwhile, Gete still kind of freed up here, not really having to do too much, at least on the right flank of his. He is charging forward with his Spear Horsemen, getting right on into these Peltas here. That's great. Silencing them. I don't believe that they had the range on anything, but that's quite all right. Coming in, getting a big charge off, knocking some of these guys down. 120? Is that right? The Peltas, yeah, no, okay, that is right. But now he's pulling on out. Hopefully, keep him moving. Keep him moving. Otherwise, you're going to still take fire, which is definitely not great. But meanwhile, the big brawl going on over here. Falksmen have been thrown on in. They are losing, unfortunately. Again, they might have a bonus against Cav, but they don't have great armor. They don't have great melee defense. They are shock troops. They are definitely solely for hammer and anvil or rear charges. Well, I guess that is a hammer and anvil, isn't it? I know we usually that terminology is reserved for like shock cav, but it's true for shock infantry as well. It's a hammer and anvil. But anyway, spears moving on forward. They're going to take on these Galatian Royal Guards. It's going to be a tough fight for them. They will most likely lose, but that's all right. If they can just tie them down for a little bit and keep them from moving forward, that'd be great. And again, big old brawl going on over here. Levithurios spears are holding the line with their Galatian Royal Guard counterparts and the Egyptian pikemen, who are not in pike wall. So that's cool. And Lusitani is just continually putting the pressure on Pergamon, facing them, forcing them to actually continuously fall back and butt up against Egypt here. And this has just kind of disarrayed their entire defensive line. There are pockets of troops all over the place getting engaged with different units from Getae here. Axe Warriors not doing too good against Galatian swords. It's not entirely surprising. The Axe Warriors aren't a bad unit, but I mean they're up against 2 Galatian swords, and they have some pretty good heavy hitting power. You can definitely punch above their weight somewhat. Pikes, however, are now starting to waver. I think he got them into pike formation a little bit too late. They might not even be it. They're not. All right. Egypt possibly might be a new player, or he just didn't realize what was going on here. Meanwhile, Pergamon looks like he's scrambling, trying to figure out which way to go, while Getae is not necessarily dismantling Egypt here, but causing enough disarray that that Pergamon has to now fall back some, and this is allowing Lusitani to push aggressively forward. Shots are going out against the slingers here from the Balearics. They're managing to get rid of some of these guys, and I'm sure once these slingers are gone, the Balearics will start to focus some other things here. Meanwhile, Tarantine Cav cycling around in the back with the Guerrilla Spears here, holding them off. Even if they manage to get over here, I don't think that they're going to be too much of a problem. Swordswomen not doing too hot at the moment against the Galatian swords. Not exactly surprising. Again, these are definitely more of a shock. Well, they are and they aren't. But they're gone. We will remember them always in memoriam. Anyway, Egypt is doing a pretty good job of taking care of Getae, but Getae definitely did his part in keeping Egypt totally preoccupied and completely in disarray, because now he's going to have to reform his troops, bring them all back together wherever they're at, and try and keep them all in the spot that he needs them, which is by Pergamon, which at the moment not going too good. I mean, this is just Getae's general is gone. Yeah, Getae's going to be out of here pretty soon, but Egypt is a little beat up, and I don't think that they're going to have enough manpower to take on Lusitani after the fact. But this is a perfect example of, for land battles, that positioning and constant maneuvering can cause disarray for your enemies and make it easier for you to defeat them. That's precisely what's happening right now. Balance of power is what I meant to say, is pretty even at the moment. It's favoring Pergamon and Egypt just slightly, but as the battle continues, we can see that Pergamon is slowly but surely losing some of his troops here. Game of Spears are winning against veteran shield warriors, which that's kind of surprising, actually. Oh, I guess maybe not. Don't they get? No, they don't get a bonus for infantry. Veteran shield warriors here, however, doing pretty good against the Peltists. And there goes Getae. Getae, for all intents and purposes, pretty much gone. Galatian swords doing, or Galatian Royal Guard rather, doing pretty good. Noble swords here are managing to beat back these Game of Spears. Hopefully they get them out of here pretty quickly. And then, of course, there's bow horsemen and Dacian heavy skirmishers left. They're going to charge right on in. Hopefully catch either these Peltists or the slingers and rout them completely. These slingers are just kind of sitting here, firing. I would like to see this bow horse charge right on in, but there we go. Shifting, going after these guys. Meanwhile, Pergamon is, for all intents and purposes, pretty much done. Egypt, slingers left out in the open. Scutari cavalry could definitely, there you go and get them. Even this Nubian spearman is pretty depleted. He could probably charge right on in and get them to start to waver and break. Have some breaking from the Balearic slingers here. It's no surprise. I feel that's just what happens in land battles with slingers, is you get preoccupied with what your infantry is doing, and then your slingers get caught up in enemy cav because you're just preoccupied somewhere else. This is a particular reason why I advocate for bringing skirmishers instead of slingers and archers, because I feel that the skirmishers can last a little bit longer. And, ooh, look at this. Egypt is just kind of bunching up over here. This is definitely not the best of things that you want to do. Pikemen have finally busted out their pikes. And then we have the Scutari cavalry over here is starting to get dog piled on, and they are going to be gone relatively soon. Hopefully they can break away. But yeah, they are getting dogged down right now, and they're probably going to be out of here. Balearic slingers are starting to come back. Hopefully they do. And then maybe you can start firing on the Tarantine cav there. But there goes the Scutari cav. And now they're going to be gone before they won't make it. That's all right, though. Meanwhile, Gette's still hanging in there. Bow horse doing what they can. 114 kills, not too bad. Getting into the slingers there. Love to see it. Let's come on over here. Get in the slow-mo. He's in square formation. So now this is what we shall do. Right in the middle here. See if we can get something cool. Yeah, I like how they're just like, I'm done fighting with you. I'm gonna fight somebody else now. Where are you looking? There we go. I think that's pretty cool, yeah? Son of a bitch. That's cool. I don't think it also captures my mouse button, but who knows. All right, back at it. That's the screenshot we use, unless I find something better. So anyway, it is Lusitani against, well, basically Egypt. Wisely, Pergamon is bringing the last of his troops over by Egypt. They're going to start to reform, and then it's going to be up to Lusitani to try and take down Egypt. Thankfully, a lot of his Galatian Royal Guards are pretty beat up. They are exhausted, so he's going to need to be as aggressive as humanly possible. Heavy skirmishers not letting up, harassing the Galatian Royal Guard. Love to see it. And then, of course, we have the Lusitani guerrillas. I would hope they don't. I was going to say, I hope they would have some of their jabbies left, but I'm not surprised that they don't. Balearic slingers going after. What are we going after? Yep. Harass those Galatian Royal Guards. They're going to be the biggest problem. Ooh, close. Tarantine cab and camel spears getting a little close to the Lusitani guerrillas. There goes the, the game of spears. Not doing too hot. Gette moving forward with his bow horseman, being a little aggressive there. Hopefully, maybe we'll see some little wraparound. Gonna do a wraparound. Anyway, so far so good. Lusitani's done a pretty good job. His units aren't too. They're pretty beat up. They're pretty beat up. This is gonna be tough. It's gonna come down to the Galatian Royal Guard. And if he can get these guys in a weakened state quick enough. It also doesn't help that they're exhausted. That is going to be so detrimental in the long run. I know it says that they're winning decisively at the moment, but the more infantry units that get piled on top of them to deal with them, they're going to have a harder and harder time. And again, they're exhausted. You always got to keep that in mind that they're exhausted. I mean, he went with Rally and Raise Banner, so he's not going to be able to use Second Wind on these troops. I mean, if he did go with that command style, second wind and battle rhythm, then this this unit here that had 104 guys in it could have been a force to be reckoned with. But unfortunately for Egypt, he went with Rally and Raise Banner, so now it's going to be a little bit tougher for them to actually pull this off. I mean, look, they're losing decisively. Granted, there's 27 men in this unit, but still losing decisively, and I'm willing to bet that this unit here will also start to slowly but surely change. Headhunt has been popped. That's going to help a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough for who's left. Noble Sword's taking on these guys right here, this Glacial Royal Guard. It's basically looking into the mirror and seeing a diet version of yourself. But the Noble Swords, they might be able to pull it off. They are winning decisively at the moment. It definitely helps that there's only 31 Glacial Royal Guards. They're exhausted. And then, of course, their Headhunt is going to die out soon, and then they're going to have a bunch of debuffs, much like the Noble Swords in here. They're still winning too, though. Honestly, levy 30 spears from Egypt. The smart thing I think would be to do is to come around and charge these guys in the back to try and get rid of them, to free up the Galatian Royal Guard. There's 21 guys left, so they wouldn't necessarily be super helpful. But at this stage of a battle, any amount of guys is going to help. So freeing up somebody is definitely going to help. Going after the Dacian heavy skirmishers, not really worth it, because they probably don't have any projectiles left, and they're in a weakened state. So they could be gotten out of here real easy. Levy Spears should have focused on the Noble Swords here. That would have helped. Probably would have saved this Galatian Royal Guard, but neither here nor there. But overall, they're way over here. He probably doesn't even realize that they're back. They probably broke and then came back. You know how many times that's happened to me, where a unit has broken and I'm like, they're gone. And then it's like the end of the battle and they're there and they have like 58 men left or whatever. It's like, I could have used that and I wasn't paying attention. Right. Palmate Cab charging right on into Spears. We all know how that's going to work. And that is pretty much it. There's 2 minutes left, but what is actually left? What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. No more. Pikes still in the game. Managed to get 105 kills, actually. That's pretty surprising. I feel like Pikes never really do that well in land battle. And he has the Levy Thurio Spears stacked on top of him. Honestly, not a bad idea. It's a little cheesy, but at this point, I think he was just trying to do what he could to save his Pikes. Unfortunately, there was nothing that he could actually do to save his Pikes. Where are they going? Where are you going, bud? Get over here. You can charge into these guys. That'd probably boost your morale a little bit so you could actually not rout, but it is what it is. All right. I'm going to fast forward this. We know how this ends. I would just edit it and cut to the end, but I hate editing videos, and it takes forever to stitch 2 edits together. And I don't have the patience for that. Plus, it's only 40 seconds. You know? We know how this is going to end. So, let's review while we have 15 seconds left. If you want to split your armies in a land battle, that's perfectly fine. You absolutely can do it, but make sure there's a curvature at the end of your line that was next to your ally so that you're protecting your flank. It's a little bit harder for the enemy to wrap around. Make sure that if that's exactly what you want to do, communicate with your allies. That's always important, whether you're in a Discord server with them or you're using the chat log. And yeah, most importantly is just positioning is always going to be key. Whether it's a siege battle or a land battle. All right, did you see how long it took Lusitani to finally actually attack? I mean, like quite literally, he was playing a game of chess with Pergamon, jockeying around, moving position, and in doing that, caused Pergamon to back up against Egypt, and then it all collapsed. Lusitani was super aggressive, kept pushing Egypt back, or Pergamon back. And yeah, I think also that picking Pergamon was not the best of ideas. They're a great defensive faction for siege battles, and I'm not saying that they can't be good for land battles too. But spears in this game, I feel, have never been what they actually should be. Okay, like except for Sparta. Hoplites, Wodzan spears, noble spearmen, whatever. They can do good, but they usually don't do great. So picking Pergamon for a land battle could absolutely work 100%. I'm not denying that, but I think you really need to know the best way to use them, because they get some good cav. They get some good shot cav and melee cav, if I remember correctly, and that's going to be your strength for Pergamon in a land battle is cav. But if that's not the way that you play, then expect to potentially have a tough time. But anyway, let's get into it here. Melendi is still getting 2,196 kills, most out of everybody on the map. 144 for the Lusitani Nobles, 19, 80, and 59 for the Scutari Cav. 168, 150, 180, and 80 for the Balearic Slingers. Well done there. I feel like I never see Slingers do that well in land battles. Lusitani Guerrillas, 56, 52, 97, 71. Lusitani Swords Women, 16, 15, and 100. Veteran Shields, 251, 192, 120, 197, 149. Messias G, 1,828 kills, 73 for his general, 2 and 0 for the spears. Wow, this is, oh my god, this is killing me right here. Noble Swords, 172, 194, 324, nice. Axe Warriors, 91, 105, 52. Mercenary Thracian Peltis, 19. Dacian Heavy Skirmishers, 104 and 23. Bow Horse, 70, 133, 65, 153. And then Spear Horseman, 40 and 53. Falksman, 102 and 53. BK 0717, 2,058 kills, 299 for his general, well done. 57, 76, 39 for the Camel Spears, 12, 35, and 66 for Tarantine Cav. 110, 103 for the Slingers, 3 and 105 for the Pikes. 241, 296, and 190 for the Galatian Royal Guard. 120, 100, 72, 77 for the Levithurio Spears, and 57 for the Nubian Bowmans. And then Fine Tips with 1,495 kills. 102 for the General. Tarantine Cav, 115, 117. Not bad. Did pretty good with that. Pergamese Noble Cav, 82, 113, and 86. Slingers, 18, 42, 117. Peltis, 30, and 34, and 12. Galatian Swords, 101, 111, 34, and 66. And the Game of Spears, 79, 98, and 138. And that's going to be it. Pretty good. Pretty good. But with that being said, everyone, have a great day, morning, evening, afternoon, night, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are while you're watching. Just have a good one. Peace out, guys.